everybody. Welcome to Freedom Friday. So excited to be sharing with you today about roadblocks and detours. So, over the past, I've presented a couple of different images on our page, and one of them is this one. And I just want to read a couple of the responses that you guys had. So we have Jennifer, mirroring my life as of late. I feel it in my gut. We have, I think I want to leave earlier next time. I'll get to see a different route, maybe some cool gardens. We have obstacle. Oh, frustration, pain in the neck. I like this one. Here I go again. And this is I'm not exactly sure what the emoji is for my current situation, ready to be on the other side of the shift. Beautiful. So when we have these kinds of experiences where we're coming up against this, whether it's on the outside in our lives or it's something that's coming up in us again, going back to that very first time that we connected on Freedom Friday, getting stuck in your uck. So what's really happening? So when we have places in our body, in our lives, where we're experiencing that kind of block, that kind of stagnation, that's on the inside. So what happens is life wants to show up to help us see what's going on, to give us guidance and help us to break through. So what does that look like? Does that look like all the angels of heaven come down and the unicorns and the rainbows? Sometimes, but sometimes it looks just like this. So here's a secret. When you look at this sign, some of you who are local may recognize it. So literally, my practice space where I'm sitting right now is about 100 yards on the other side of this sign. So you can see it says road blocked, closed to through traffic, detour this way. And yet here, my practice space, Indie Healing Center, and everything I represent is just 100 yards on the other side. So I'd have to say that's really, it's a beautiful mirror for everything that my practice is based in. And it's also a beautiful mirror for like, hey, you're gonna take it to that level, Melissa? That means you're gonna have to play at that level. And these kinds of things are gonna show up for you. And herein lies the opportunity, herein lies the challenge. So looking at this, and then looking at this. And what if I were to tell you that this image is just a different angle, a different perspective of this? Because when we have these experiences, what is it guiding us? It's guiding us to go within. It's guiding us, it's saying, hey, you're in a kind of situation where the path that you were on, you're not going to be able to take that path anymore. I mean, literally, like the GPS is going to try to make you circle and circle and circle and circle. The signs on the outside are making you circle. You're not going to be able to reach that destination where you're going the way you've been doing it. And you're going to have to take a different route. And the route is within. The route is your heart. And you can see in this picture, and I'm going to go and take a look and see because I loved your responses, because I asked the same questions about each of these pictures. So some of the responses about that beautiful heart photo, Melanie, the way, the truth, the light at the center of our being. To be happy, you must follow your heart. So there are some other feelings too of like, ooh, you're almost there, keep going, be courageous. There's a little bit of fear, a path of the heart, a little bit scary. So it can feel that way, right? Because the signs aren't always very clear. When we're going to this level of living from our heart space, we're going into, in a way, uncharted territory, but in another way, it's something that you've always known. Your highest self, your spirit is up there constantly trying to guide you and show you the way. But it's not gonna have it's not necessarily gonna look like a straight path. It's not going to be necessarily point A to point B, and this is what's going to happen, and let me lay it all out for you. It may look all different sorts of ways, and it's going to feel all different sorts of ways. So being able to live at this level where we can meet this, with an open heart and tap into that guidance, that's no small task. So I really encourage, if you haven't witnessed, these sessions are really building upon each other in a way I didn't realize that I was going to be doing. Barbara, there's an incredible beauty on the other side. We can do it. Our inner guide knows that we have everything we need. Yes, it does, it does, it does. Thank you. Love it, love it, love it. So, again, these sessions are building upon each other. And that very first session, we got down in like the icky, sticky ick. And if you go back, or if you remember from what I was speaking about, I totally had one of the biggest blocks I had ever experienced in my life. And it was through that block that I really began my path of opening. Now, does that mean that it's been just all like a beautiful, smooth, gentle ride? No, not at all. Because I have decided that I am taking this whole wellness lies within thing to the highest level possible. So everything in my path, every time that I come up against a challenge, I automatically want to seize the opportunity. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean I'm going to get triggered in all different sorts of ways because I'm really ready to take it on. So when I get triggered, that's when I got to go back to those beginning things. Okay, there's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to find that, but I'm in this kind of space, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in that place of like, where am I going to go now? I'm like trying to remap in my GPS, and I'm looking here and forgetting that the answer is in here. So that's when I got to go back to that. Let's move that stagnant energy. Let's tap into moving through that stuck stuff so that we can open into the heart space, which also goes into what we tapped into last week about relationship and looking at the biggest picture, knowing that there isn't just bad and there isn't just good. It's always part of the biggest picture. I don't have a yin yang right behind me, but that's part of what we were tapping into, looking at relationships, seeing the biggest picture. So knowing that's how I've been practicing my life. Like every time I come up against something that's stuck, I'm looking at it through that framework. Okay, this is here for a reason. This is here for my highest good. Now that creates a little bubble around me. If I practice that again and again and again, it makes it easier for me to tap into that heart space. So beyond just talking about this in theory, I want to tell you that really, in order to tap into that highest level inner guidance system that Barbara's talking about, that's a really deep practice. That is full attunement, body, mind, and spirit, and really spirit, body, mind. So it involves moving the emotions. It involves opening to seeing things from this bigger picture, that it's there for a purpose, it's there for good. But for myself, on my journey, it's involved a practice of Qigong. Qigong is Chinese energy exercise. In particular, there's a lot of forms of Qigong that are out there, but the practice that found me, Wu Ming Qigong, means to live from the heart space. So through doing this practice, I have been helping my body to, and I'll rewind a little bit about exactly what that is, helping my body to build its function so I'm stronger in that liver energy, so it's easier. I don't get stuck as much, but also it's opening me up into that heart space just through doing the practice because of the strength of its lineage. What Qigong is it's gentle movements of the energy lines. Now those energy lines, we are grids. We are energy grids, right? We are wired to be able to connect into everything around us and everything inside us through this grid system. So the idea is to get the energy moving and flowing through those grids so that you can be in a greater state of flow, so you can handle all the different things that are showing up in your life at a different level, help you with the healing, but also really helping you with tuning into this space. So as we talked about in the beginning, I had an experience that it's like there was no way that I would be able to wrap my mind around it. So it began this journey of how do I wrap my heart around it? And it was through opening my mind and through doing the practice that I've been able to attune to this space. So I purposefully make it a practice to really try to allow myself to play this game, this there are no accidents game. Because if I play it in the day to day to day, moment to moment of really following those kinds of signs that aren't literal signs that are coming from a different level, then it makes my connection to my intuitive guidance system so much stronger. So there are some pictures too. If you haven't seen this yet, you can go back in our feed and find it. A week ago on Thursday, I decided I was going to have a day where literally I made no plan and I just, wherever it's going to lead me, let life lead me. And so I found myself driving south and I ended up at a beautiful national park that I have been to maybe 5 other times before called Clifty Falls. And my intuition said, you want to go to this one location. And my mind was like, why? Like, because I'm passing all these other beautiful spots and I'm like, oh, that looks so good. No, keep going, keep going. So I followed that message. I got myself parked and I'm like, I was really distracted because I'm like, I don't know, is this the right spot? And I was like on my phone. And so I gave myself some time to move through that kind of like energy. And I was guided. I was like, go walk in the creek. So I'm walking in the creek and it's lovely. And then there were these 2 trees. So the pictures, you'll have to go look. Oh my God, these 2 trees. So I went up and I was like, all right, I'm supposed to tune in between these 2 trees. And as I did, I started connecting into what they were trying to show me. Now, trees in the Chinese medicine consciousness perspective are the energy of our liver. So they are about transformation and breakthrough and connectivity because they root below the surface where things are, that yin side of things. They extend up and they connect into heaven. So at that beautiful yin-yang connection that they have, like antenna on earth. And that's the energy of our liver. That is how we process, how we handle stress, how we handle those roadblocks. So I stood between those 2 trees doing my practice, which I'll show you in a minute. And they taught me about fearlessness. And they taught me about how they were in cooperation. There were 2 trees together, how they were rooting together in order to stay because they were on the side of an embankment. One of them sitting on a big limestone slab. And anchoring in truth was like this one feeling that I got, anchoring in truth. Okay, whatever. I'm like, beautiful, thank you, right along now. So there's another piece that I'm going to leave out for the sake of time. But so later, I'm not going to leave it out. It's important. So I went back down into the creek bed and I was like, I'm done. I'm hungry. I'm ready to go. But my eyes were like, no. And I started walking. And what I ended up discovering was this part of the park that I had found 6 years ago. Newly pregnant with my baby. That's another thing. Surprising opportunities that come my way. But I was newly pregnant with my 4th kiddo, and I had all my other kiddos there, and we were traipsing around in the creek, and we found this gorgeous part of the park, and we had not been able to find it since. I mean, I'd been there at least 4 other times, and the kids get mad at me. We're in the woods. We can't find it. I'm like, and there it was. So it was a beautiful, because all those other times in the park, I wasn't able to tune in to really listen to that guidance and know where I was supposed to go to find that sacred space again, or it wasn't the right time either. No accidents there. So, long story short, I come home and we had our Freedom Friday on Friday and all about relationship. And this is no accident either that I was tapping into that connection between heart and our lungs. And, opening up into that space of really high level compassion and that control does not exist on this planet. It naturally, we try to exert control, but it creates a whole lot of problems. So, as many of you may know, I mean, this whole wellness lies within. I take that to the highest level. And when COVID arrived, I had to see it through that framework because that's how I live. There are no accidents. Everything's happening for a reason. Everything's happening for good. So how can we see this experience, this virus, the arrival of this virus from this place of good? And thus began a journey for me at that time. At that time, I wasn't very present on the internet. My website was like this big, and I just was guided like, you need to be putting out there all these different ways of connecting in and seeing to support you and to support others who are ready and need that kind of support to step into faith over fear as we are in this intense experience that's very hard to see from that angle when it's so intense and so in our face. So really bathing myself in that faith over fear. At the same time, of course, because I was standing in my truth, like that fearless tree, that doesn't mean that everybody else around me was in the same place. I was doing the best that I could as a mama to really nest my children in this space of faith, that we're nurturing ourselves, our digestive systems, the foundation of our immunity, taking care of ourselves in all these beautiful ways. My husband, through his own stressors, it created a rift in our relationship, a very intense rift. And it was one of the hardest points that I've had to experience in my marriage, where I knew that it was about him and his experience, but it was really hard because it basically felt like I was stretched between two worlds and really trying to hold the foundation together for my home and my family as he was going through his own process and resistance. So I dislocated my patella in that state, which is our liver, trying to keep the, foundation, kidney and liver energy. And it was a huge wake-up call. It brought me to the ground, literally. And I'm like, all right, I can't do it this way anymore. And I began opening and processing and taking everything to a deeper level, and really opening into that compassion that I spoke about, because this wasn't something I could embody. It's not something my mind was going to be able to understand. So we've come a long way since then. And oops, sorry about that. No accident. Come a long way since then. But on Saturday, my husband, I was in the driveway, and he goes, Emma, my 15-year-old, she wants to get the COVID vaccine. I'm taking her on Monday. And I signed the papers. And it was said to me in a way that it was like, and I'm like, okay, Emma and I were going to have a conversation about this. We didn't have the conversation about this. It's not that I'm opposed to the vaccine, but I'm all about we prepare ourselves, because this is about our whole foundation, and we need to be ready to receive this. So I'm acting very calm right now. I was very angry, and he was leaving, and I was like, I'm going to wait till he leaves. My kids were trying to talk to me. I'm pacing the house. I'm like, is he gone? I thought he was gone. And if you rewind to that first session, I had the most intense Taoist emotional cleansing practice, probably rose the roof, because it just was like, it brought up so much in me, so much that I didn't realize I was still holding underneath the surface. So I exploded, and he hadn't left yet. So he came in the room, told me to get my shit together, and that I was crazy. I'm like, okay, goodbye. And then I put my music back on and kept going. And he's like, I'm taking Emma. I'm like, okay. So he left, and I completed my practice, found my grounding, and I was like an empty shell for a little bit, like, okay, I'm sitting with this. And that night, well, he had gone to our lake house. He disinvited me. I'm like, hell no, baby, I'm coming. I'm good. No, there are no accidents. There's something really, really good happening in this for me, and it's happening for my highest good. So that night, I have calligraphy t-shirts. I put on my tenderness t-shirt and my compassion sweatshirt over the top. And I snuggled in bed, and I practiced Qigong in the middle of the night, and I awoke feeling so peaceful, because my heart just was like, I just found this space. I had to move a lot of shit and be in kind of a raw and not hide. You know, it would have been, if I had stayed home, I wouldn't have been able to break through. But I felt like I had passed through that tunnel and I was just held in this light. And I was like, my daughter needs, she doesn't need me to fight her. She doesn't even need the information that I think she needs. I mean, there are ways that I'm going to support her, and she needs me to be fully present in my compassionate heart. And that is going to make all the difference, and she'll be fine. And that this challenge, this opportunity is taking things to a whole new level in terms of how I connect with her and my husband. So, woo, woo. So we have 1 more minute left, and I know that that's just kind of like, what? I want to introduce you to the most powerful tool I have to share with people. I mean, what really is able to get me through these stuck moments with so much greater ease and grace is moving my emotional stuff, but then really tapping in and connecting and aligning body, mind, and spirit. So I'll also post in our comments on this video a video where you can learn about this and learn more about what Qigong is about. So essentially, we are the energy grid, and we want to plug ourselves in to receive energy and to connect in and to get upgrades and to get from here to here. So you stand with your feet, and I'm sorry you can't see my full bod, but feet are hip distance apart. Your knees are slightly bent. The key with this is your hands are pointed straight out. Your thumbs point at each other. My thumbs are a little wonky, but straight at each other, and then you pull back to chest level. So this video is not so great, but again, I'll post it in the feed. So you let your elbows relax a little, let your shoulders relax a little, and your thumbs point at each other, and you close your eyes. You are now the dragon standing between heaven and earth. And why the dragon? Because the dragon is fearlessness. The dragon, it can connect to any dimension. The dragon is your inner strength, your power, your connection to your highest self. This is your ability to twist and spin and whirl around any situation, any roadblock, and be able to find your way. So that's what I got. I will again share more about what Qigong is all about in the video, in the feed, in the comments. Take care and have a beautiful holiday weekend.